In the year 2732, the hegemony of man comprises hundreds of planets connected by Farcaster portals, a form of instantaneous teleportation. The hegemony maintains an uneasy alliance with the Technocore, a civilization of AIs that divorced itself from humanity 400 years ago. Modified humans known as ousters live in space stations between the stars and are engaged in a bitter conflict with the hegemony. Numerous outback planets have no Farcaster capabilities and cannot be accessed without incurring significant time debt. One of these planets is home to ancient structures known as the Time Tombs, huge monuments moving backwards in time, guarded by a legendary creature of pain known as the Shrike. On the eve of an ouster invasion and the destruction of the Time Tombs, a final pilgrimage is organized. The pilgrims decide that they will each tell their tale, explaining how they are connected to Hyperion by Dan Simmons, published in 1989 by Doubleday. One of the most ambitious, incredible sci-fi novels I've ever read, probably that's ever been written. It's an incredible journey, an incredible feat. Truly is a masterwork. I'm under no illusions. This is a wonderful novel. I love this book so much. To be honest, it is what kickstarted my love for reading in my adult life. In college, I had read the Game of Thrones books, and I'd read through some Foundation books, and I also got through the first three books of Wheel of Time. And, I feel like I get bored, or I got bored with reading, and I had gotten back into it and realized I really only want to read the classics, or not the classics, but the truly great novels of modern and semi-modern sci-fi and fantasy. The top of every list that I looked at was Hyperion, and for excellent reason. This book is on basically every level expertly crafted. It's beautifully written. The structure is just so in balance. I feel like so for those people who I kind of did the intro little blurb, but each pilgrim on this pilgrimage to the Time Tombs on the planet of Hyperion tells their story of how they are in some way connected to the planet, the strangeness. We've got the priest's tale, we've got the soldier's tale, we've got the poet's tale, we've got the philosopher's tale, the private investigators. Well, I can't remember what her Braun Lamia, private investigator, and then we've got, of course, the consul's tale. Each one of these stories is able to reveal something about the universe, as well as a little something about yourself. You kind of realize that one of the main themes of the book is pain, and each story in their own little way kind of illustrates the many different aspects and forms of pain that humans can go through. And it's a very contemplative work. There are books that are fun to read, that reads like scripts, and you feel like I feel like Blake Crouch is really good at writing books that just kind of rip by. Dan Brown is a pretty good writer as well in that thriller genre. But the way that these stories pull you in, especially the priest's tale, the first tale, I was just so fascinated. It's such an interesting, you're kind of going into it like, oh man, this is going to be a very interesting sci-fi book. And it kind of starts out as this camping journey. It's told through the journal entries of the priest who travels to Hyperion. His name is Father Paul Dure. I sing this book's praises because it's basically nothing but great story points. Each story, because it has this short story structure, it's really able to take you through these hills and valleys, the up and down of individual climaxes for each story, and whilst also building this tapestry of clues that lead you toward suspicions about what is going on in the greater story arc. It's such a strange. I wanted to wait to do this review until I finished The Fall of Hyperion, the sequel to this book. For people who don't know, this is part of a 4-book series. It's called the Hyperion Cantos, which is also the same name as the poem that Martin Silenus is writing within Hyperion. One thing that Dan Simmons really likes John Keats, and I don't know any other way to say that, but man, he really, wow. I don't know if I don't know if there's an artist that I love in the way that Dan Simmons loves John Keats. Wow. Especially now reading Fall of Hyperion. I don't want to say anything about that in this one. I'll do a separate video about that. But you know what? I like that one too. So, but check out that video. Maybe it's here. Or maybe I haven't done it yet, but maybe it's here. I don't know. This book has everything. Do you like sci-fi space opera? Well, hey, guess what? We got that. Do you like military fiction? Sure. Period piece military fiction? That's in here too. What about like a space noir detective story? That's such a coincidence, because that is also one of the stories in this. Do you love to have your heartstrings ripped out of your chest and then flagellated with them? Do you like that? Because that's what some of these stories will do. Some of these stories are so poignant and painful to think about. But you know what? This book is such a work of imagination. Dan Simmons, really just thought up a crazy story. And, you know, there's the obvious inspirations. There's the Canterbury Tales. There's John Keats, obviously John Keats. I learned a lot about John Keats, and I think it's not necessarily a criticism of the book. I think I like learning, and you know, people, you know, it's interesting. I would never have known about John Keats. He died very young. He only had a little bit of work to show his genius. He's a poet. I'm going to come out and say it. I don't think I understand poetry, and I feel bad about it. And I feel, you know what it is I read the poetry sections of the book. I read them and I just feel dumb. I feel like I can't cognate my brain. I feel like my brain doesn't work, and I don't know if if anybody else feels that pain, but I mean, I can read the words, but I cannot I need you to tell me what is happening physically. And you know what? I have a criticism about this book, Hyperion. I have a hard time understanding what's happening when people are in the datum plane, or the megasphere, the data sphere. My brain I can't create the images of what he's describing. of what it is. And I don't know if that's a problem with me. Let me know if you guys understand what's happening. I mean, it's kind of, he describes it really interestingly, but I just am like, all right, well, I guess they're light beams on a thing. I can't even imagine what it is now. I literally finished Fall of Hyperion today, and I can't imagine. Anyway, I love this book. This book is super good. I recommend this book to everyone. What is my favorite story of the ones of the Pilgrims? I think the most emotionally just heart-wrenching one is Sol Weintraub's story of Rachel. Just heart-wrenching. And I don't want to ruin anything. I want people to experience it for themselves. But it's a very just each individual story as they're being told. I really appreciate kind of the progression. Like you feel that ticking clock of them progressing on this pilgrimage. And as they're continuing through, you get kind of the landscape of the planet Hyperion. And you get this sense, because that there is this Farcaster technology, you get this sense that anywhere is just a step away. Hyperion is a incredible example of trying to blend every single possible idea you've ever had into one novel. And you know, it's so, I mean, I know that I'm playing it up really hard, but it's a great book, and I think that anybody can take away from it a lot. One of my favorite quotes about sci-fi is that technology that is sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. I think that Hyperion is a wonderful example of when sci-fi and fantasy blend expertly and perfectly. I think that sci-fi and fantasy are, in a lot of ways, two sides of the same coin. And I am a huge proponent of people looking around us, looking around, and seeing the magic in everyday technology. And, I mean, electricity is basically magic, in my opinion. The fact that we can use radio waves, how's that not magic? Like, you can't, come on. Hyperion, how many, let's see here. I give Hyperion, I'm going to give Hyperion 7 Shrikes out of 7. And you can quote me on that. This book is wonderful. Please read this book if you haven't read this book. Honestly, one word review, Tidor _ YouTube channel. Whoa. This book is a whoa. All right. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments or anything that I missed, let me know. I might pick those up in my Fall of Hyperion review, which will be coming up pretty soon. If you haven't, please like and subscribe and follow me. Reading school, reading school. This book is great. I don't know. I feel like everybody else has said everything else you can say. It's a great book. So go read it.